Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fearless and Free TV. And today's Wonder Women Wednesdays, I'm excited to bring on my guest, Cali Gilbert. Cali's a longtime friend of mine. I think we met maybe 10 years ago when she and I were both in a publishing class together. And it helped me launch my first book. And I think it helped launch Cali's first book as well. Cali's actually written a bunch of books since we met. And she's made a couple of award-winning movies. And we're going to be talking today about her newest movie, which is finished production and is now getting ready for the distribution process. So I'm really excited to talk to her about this movie. We've actually worked on some movie projects in the past, so she's helped me get my feet wet with film production as well. Before I bring her in, I wanted to share with you about my new class that's upcoming. It's my Transcendence Process class. I'm in the middle of my previous class that started in January, and the next one is coming up in March. That class is all about the process I used to liberate myself after my own awakening it started in 2008, and what I ended up solidifying it around 2010. And the book, Transcending Fear, is all about my awakening journey and process. And that's what I teach in my Transcendence Process class. This class it's a small group setting. I limit it to less than 10 people, so everybody gets intimate time and people end up being really good friends when they're finished. And then I also have a group on Telegram for all the people who have gone through the class so they can stay connected. So go ahead and check that out on my website at victoriareynolds.com. And I will put the actual direct link for that program in the description below. Now it's time to bring in Cali and talk about what she's been up to in the world and this new movie that she's creating. Hey, Cali, good to see you again.
Hey, Victoria.
Always good to see you. So, one of the things, and I know I've shared this with you before, but one of the things that's always inspired me about you is your ability to get an idea and do something with it. Like, there's some of us that get an idea and we sit on it and we ponder it and mull through it. And you get an idea, Spirit says, Cali, you need to make this, boom, and you make it. Or you need to write this book, and boom, you write it. And I've always been impressed with your ability to just hear what Spirit's speaking to you, your inner muse, and then just immediately do what it is you're guided to do. And I know that's the case with this movie as well. You were in the middle of working on another project that I know you'll go back and work on again once you're finished with this one. But sometimes we get guided by Spirit for something else to push its way to the forefront. And some of our other projects get put on the burner, so to speak, because there's something that's even more important that needs to be done now. And it sounds to me like that's what's happened with your What If project. So tell me about that, what this is about. And you said that it answers a big question about how, what if we could make the world a better place? So tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I call it inspired action. When Spirit speaks to me, when my inner muse speaks to me, I know that it's a gift. And I need to take advantage of that gift. And so that's why immediately I'm like, okay, get to work. This film came to me back in March of last year. It's almost a year now. And it was one of my 3:30 in the morning genius ideas. And that's how they're presented to me. Literally, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, this is what you need to do. And that's how it was with this film. It was like, this is a film you need to make. And literally gave me the title, which is What If, and basically the whole storyline, and said, all right, there you go. And at the time it was actually a bit scary because it was such a huge project, in the fact that I knew that it wasn't just going to be the movie, it was going to be something greater than the movie. And so when I designed the website and started laying the foundation, I really called it, the movie, the mission, the movement. Because I said, really, we're just starting with the movie. And once we get that out into the world, then it can really become something pretty amazing. And so it's a short film, and it's entitled What If? And it really focuses on 11 questions that all have a societal impact. So, for instance, what if racism didn't exist? What if homelessness didn't exist? You know, what if everyone had a home? You know, what if there was gender equality? You know, things like that. I mean, these huge questions that really have a societal impact. And the cool thing about this film is that we shot it 100% remotely. We brought a cast together of 45 people from all over the world, representing 17 countries on 6 continents. And we all shot it basically on our cell phones. And we have celebrities, we have Paralympic athletes, we have frontline workers, actors with disabilities. We wanted it to be all about inclusion. So it was like, okay, how do we tap into our global community and bring everybody together to make this film? And so that's what we've done. And we're currently in post-production and hoping to release it either at the end of this month or beginning of next month, and fingers crossed. And so we're excited to see what happens.
Wow, that's really exciting. You know, and I love how you brought in people from, you know, a cross section of humanity and all over the world, and ask those same questions of everyone. And I think it's really important that we start really thinking about that. One of my hot buttons, if you will, the last couple of months is what I call bridging the divide, which is the all of these divisive labels have been created to keep us divided. And what if, again, there's the what if we were to let go of all those labels and just be human beings having a human experience? What could humanity look like then?
Exactly.
Breaking down all of these labels to let's just be human beings having a human experience, rather than all of the labels that were created to divide us, and then create from there.
Yeah. And that's what we wanted to do as well, in terms of really showcasing that it was a global project. So we have it not only in English, but also in 13 different languages. And so including American Sign Language. So we wanted to really, you know, bring on as many different diverse cultures and individuals from around the world. And also with backdrops, we have it shot in front of the Kremlin in Russia, in front of a waterfall in Ghana. I mean, it's amazing, you know, where we were able to find these individuals, and everyone was so enthusiastic about the project. And so being able to really unite as a global community has been amazing.
Wow, that's really cool. So how did you find these people?
So I am very blessed that I belong to an amazing filmmaking mastermind group. So when I first came up with the idea, I just pitched it to my group and I said, look, we're still in the midst of this pandemic. We can't really go out and do much. Why don't we make a movie? And here's my idea, and who wants to be a part of it? And everyone basically raised their hand and said, me. And it was great because when I pitched it, we have celebrities as well. So I pitched it to celebrities and I said, look, you don't even have to leave home. You can do it on your cell phone, right? You can shoot it, you know, wherever you'd like. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem, we'll do it. And so it was really great to be able to just, you know, reach out to my initial contacts and then them spreading the word. And it was great too when I said, I want to make it where we definitely cover as many places as we can. So I had my intention on the 7 continents. And so reached out to a friend in LA who had a friend in Africa, who then connected me with the actor, or actually not even an actor, just a regular person who shot the one in Ghana. And so it was really that network and expanding from that network.
That's great. So did you get somebody from Antarctica?
We did not, no, but we had penguins. We had penguins. You know? I was like, how do we represent Antarctica? They're like, we got the penguins.
Antarctica had representation.
Yes.
Okay, yes, there's not a lot of people there to be able to communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how long did it take you to film this? I know you're in post-production right now. How long did
so the idea came in March. I started pitching it around May. I think we started shooting probably in June and then wrapped around August, early September. And then started going into the direction of post-production and what we wanted to do, because there were so many things that I wanted to add. I wanted animation. I wanted We have an amazing composer who's in Italy, who's right now putting together the score. So it's amazing how to just really bring it all together. So we're not, because it's interesting. I mean, we've got 45 people who all submitted clips. And so we're talking about color correction and all these different things. We knew that post-production was going to take a while just because of the magnitude of the project and how many people we had contributing. So we took basically a little break over the holidays, and now we're back into the heart of post and making a lot of progress. And so fingers crossed we're done by the end of the month.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about color correction. And, you know, when you think about so many different pieces of material having to be spliced into one product,
exactly.
there would be, because I'm thinking about from an editing perspective, oh my gosh, that's a lot of editing, because, you know, editing's so time consuming. But even the color correction to make sure that the footage all matches in that sense, you don't have one piece that's so completely different. I'm laughing about color correction because I'm looking at the difference between your camera color and my camera's color, so people can see what we're talking about. That
exactly.
being able to create that consistency across each one of those splices of material.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about a bunch of different questions that people are answering that also need to be spliced in there. So that would take a lot of work.
It is. I mean, I've done the majority of the editing. I have an amazing editor in LA and an animator in LA who are now putting the fine tuning on it. And, you know, we have the animation as well. So it's like, how do you, you know, incorporate that animation so that it then also blends with the rest of the product, right? And doesn't jump out like, okay, this doesn't really belong, right? So there are a lot of moving pieces to it. We're also looking at sound bites and things that match the stock footage that we have. And so all of these things that really have to go into it. It's not just throwing the thing together and saying, okay, here's a movie.
Right. Now you did another little film. When you and I were working on a film project a few years ago called Pearl. It was about homelessness in Los Angeles. And you decided to not scrap it, but kind of put it aside temporarily. And then you did another film, a short that won all kinds of awards.
Yeah, Invisible. So I'm grateful for Pearl, because Pearl really, the reason it didn't go was just, we spent a year trying to raise money for this thing and it just wasn't happening. And I realized, well, I just need to get something out there and, you know, showcase what was going on in terms of the homeless crisis in LA. But I wanted to focus on prevention. And that's where Invisible came about, and which we call it the little film that could, because it just started winning awards right out of the gate and was amazing. And I'm really grateful for Invisible because it then shifted the direction of Pearl. So we're looking at Pearl now in terms of more of a documentary series on women who have experienced homelessness and then found success. And so through my company, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We support creative women in transition. And so we're supporting them in starting their own businesses, getting from that place of homelessness to that transition to then starting their own business. Now we can take those success stories once we're complete with, you know, their academy and everything that they're going through, and showcase that in Pearl. And that's what our hope is right now. So it was nice to see how the initial idea came to be, and then really how it transformed because of the direction of Invisible. And so I truly believe that everything's connected, everything, you know, comes out when it's supposed to. I'm a big believer in divine timing. And so I don't really scrap things. I kind of more shelve things and then know that they'll come out when they're supposed to.
Right. And I love the direction that it has gone. And as you said, in the meantime, you were able to turn Tower 15 Productions into a nonprofit organization that allows you to do more than you could have done with a standard for-profit corporation.
Exactly. Yeah. Because everything we're doing is, our focus is social impact documentaries. Our mission is basically twofold. We produce social impact documentaries that raise awareness and make a difference. And then we support creative women in transition. And this way we can do both, and we can do it on a larger scale, which is exciting.
Wow. So you have an opportunity for people to become involved with supporting this new movie that you've just made,
Yes.
the What If. So let people know what this opportunity looks like so they can participate.
Absolutely. So we've just launched our crowdfunding campaign, but we also are looking for what we're calling production partners. So producers, really. We have 6 spots open for producers who donate $1,000 each, and they can go straight to the website, and there's information on the website on how they can do that. They'll get a credit actually in the film, and they'll get a lot of promotion as well for themselves or their business, whatever they want to promote.
Okay. And then you also have a crowdfunding campaign for
Yes.
people who
Yeah, we have a
feel right.
crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo as well.
Okay. Oh, let me put that up. So the best way to find that is
the website, tower15productions.com/whatif. And so that is the main website. There you'll find we have what we're calling our featured crew, and then all the information on the film and ways that you can support us.
Wonderful. And I will put that in the description below for people so they don't have to write it down as it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Although, it looks good there. I like my ability to add my lower thirds, but I also will put it in the description as well. And so, Cali, what about you? Or is this now your primary focus? Are you still writing books? Are you still?
Yeah, so I consider myself an artist. I wear many hats, and I'm a creative. I'm a writer. I'm an author. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a painter, a photographer. I just love to create. I'm always creating, and it feeds my soul. And so, yeah, there's a number of projects in the works. I have 2 scripts that I'm currently working on, and then I'm also working on my first feature film, which is really exciting because that in the last week or so has really taken off in ways that it was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that to happen so fast. It's called Resilient, and it's about how sports unites communities in times of crisis. And we are going to be focusing on baseball for this one. And it's amazing. I mean, there's just the pieces are coming together in very exciting ways. And so we're hoping to have that done by the end of the year is our goal for that. So lots of things going on, but it's exciting. It's definitely an exciting time.
Now, are you still coaching people for how to write their own books, or is that?
I am. I actually have a client I just wrapped with who just released her book on Amazon. And so I have another one that I'm working with next week who is also he's a screenwriter, but he's actually writing 2 books. It's a 2-volume book on screenwriting, and he's interviewed amazing screenwriters in all different capacities, television, film, and he's sharing these interviews through these books, which is amazing for new screenwriters, especially who are just learning about the business and want to learn from the best. So helping him with his book, and yeah, I love it because it's, if I can support a fellow writer in getting their words and their stories and their expertise out into the world, nothing better.
Wow. And so the best way to reach you for people who want direction with their books is that CaliGilbert.com?
That's CaliGilbert.com, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And so how many books have you written now?
I have 10 published books on the market.
Wow. And I think when you and I met, we met at Christine Closer's transformational author experience.
Yeah. And that was actually my 5th book. I took her course. I took that transformational author experience. And then I think it was probably maybe the 3rd one that I actually went through her Get Your Book Done program and did my 5th book, which was the first book in my memoir series. It's Simply Serendipity. And that's the one that really launched my career as an author.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her course got me to birth my first book, my Transcending Fear book.
Yeah.
And I love that you've been a prolific writer. Something tells me you're going to continue writing. It feels like your writing is shifting from the style you started out with And it's
Yeah, definitely. I started out with a combination of writing and photography. So my first four books are a combination of that writing and photography. And then I went into memoirs. I have the three-book memoir series. I have a historical fiction series. I have a self-help series. But now it's just like I feel like I'm actually interested more, I think, right now in fiction than I am in nonfiction. And
Mhm.
so I have actually it's like a 7-book fiction series that I'm looking at, down the road. But everything that I do now also has kind of that film component in it.
Mhm.
It's like I know I'm going to write it as a book and then turn it into a film. So it's that combination.
Right. And I kind of got that sense that these next series of books will be much more creative. So, and that makes sense. And I think a lot of people are starting to understand, well, a lot of people, those of us who are in the messenger field, let's say, because I've been getting that same message that we need to start turning. Well, and I think I told you this, what I was shown about maybe how many years ago, what Spirit was showing me is books on film. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those because we need to start creating better content that's out there in film right now. A lot of it's just crap. Or
Exactly.
in the words of the film event I went to in 2012, the Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. You were there for the GATE events. Yeah. And so the GATE program isn't around anymore, but it really lit a fire in a bunch of us to realize we need to create better content.
Yeah. And the
Because
opportunities are out there. It's amazing how much things have opened up over the last few years, especially now with these streaming services. And it's like, wow, I read the other day, I actually posted it to my mastermind group that Comcast is putting like crazy amounts of money into new content over the next 2 years, and it was like I think on Peacock, and I love Peacock actually, and I've been watching them and envisioning some of the material that I want to share on there. And then I hear this about Comcast going and putting all this money into this, and I'm like, yep, this is
yep.
a sign. So
Yeah, and you know what I discovered a few weeks ago is that pretty much anybody can have an app on television.
yeah,
I didn't realize it was that easy.
it's amazing,
And
it's
I went on my because on my TV every day up, the new smart TV I just got a few months ago, and every day I go on there, it says, check out this new app. There are hundreds of apps.
yeah.
So now it's a matter of figuring out how to get your app in the top 10.
Yeah.
That's going to be the new place to be seen and heard is where 10 years ago it was how do you get your YouTube show to be one of the top YouTube shows. Now it's going to be how do you get your app to be one of the top apps.
Exactly. And I think too, I read this thing on Twitter the other day. I can't remember who posted it, but it said something like the life of a filmmaker. It's like, make a film, try to share it with a studio, pray a studio picks it up, try to make some money, and then all this, like going through this torturous process, right? And then it said and repeat, right? And then I'm like, no, it's like make a film, skip the studios, get it out there yourself, and then repeat, right?
Tell all your friends.
Exactly. It's like there's no barriers anymore. It's like there's barriers that you put upon yourself, right? But there are no barriers out there. It's just, stick it on YouTube. I mean, hello. It's so easy these days.
And there's so many other distribution channels. Now we might not be able to get them into the theaters because right now to get something into the theater, you have to go through the traditional filters, if you will, the distribution systems, and they really filter out what we are and aren't allowed to see in the movie theaters.
Exactly.
But now there are so many distribution groups that we all cross promote each other. That's kind of what we do.
Absolutely.
And I know some of them, there are some that all they do is promote films to their massive audiences.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we're heading, is that creating, again, going back to the what if we could create a better world, that creating new entertainment industry, conscious entertainment bypasses the old distribution models entirely.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And I think too is the success that we had with Invisible was we had our LA premiere at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Okay, this is a 15-minute film that we shot on my cell phone. Okay, and we premiered at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood, right?
That's wild.
Right? I mean, I can still remember sitting there, seeing it up on the screen with all these people and thinking, this is surreal, right? And then to get an invitation to attend the Cannes Film Festival in France, the filmmaker, on this little film, right? And I'm thinking, well, heck, if I can do that with this, imagine what I could do with a proper cast and crew, right? With a budget, right? With all these, things that you think about when you're thinking about making a decent film, right? It's like, look out, right? Well, just getting started here.
Right. Well, and you made some great connections making that little movie.
Absolutely.
That allows you to now navigate where you couldn't before.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now when I went to cast for this film, it was like people knew who I was, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll be in your film, right? And then casting for the feature film, literally in the last couple of weeks, I mean, I've got amazing cast who have said, yes, sign me up. I'm on it. So yeah, definitely. Invisible put me on the map.
That's great. Invisible made you so that you were no longer invisible.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And what's really cool about all this, Kelly, is I think in the process of knowing you, that's when you were homeless. You went through a homelessness phase in the middle of all that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I went through this massive transformation between 2011 and 13 and ended up in LA, turned my life around, published all these books. And then with Pearl, we spent a year trying to raise money for Pearl, and I put everything I had into it and literally had run out of money and was thinking, okay, now what? And I thought, well, instead of, being in that kind of victim, woe me mentality, I thought, well, what can I do with what I currently have? And realized, well, I have a cell phone. I know people, I have skills and talents. I can make a film. And that's how Invisible was birthed, really. And so my motto in life is no excuse, right? There's always a way. And it's just a matter of sometimes you got to get a little creative, right? But there's always a way.
I remember when you shot that you were on the verge of being homeless again.
Yeah.
Because you had put so much time and money into Pearl. And I remember you saying, oh my gosh, it's a good thing I have a roommate who's going to let me stay an extra couple of months.
God bless my roommate. Yeah. Because it was just like, holy crap, So, yeah.
But then in the middle of all that, you shot a film that has won all these awards.
It's amazing. Yeah. So proud of that little film.
So, you know what that says to all of you who are watching this? When you're on purpose, the universe says yes. And you were so obviously on purpose with that little film.
Yeah.
That the universe basically handed you a platter.
Yeah. And I felt that with this film as well. When it came to me, I was just like, whoa. I was like, you want me to do what? But I knew I needed to do it, right? So I was just like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing, but okay. Who wants to make a movie?
That's great. But but it's films like that can change the world.
Exactly.
So, and you're here to be a change maker. I know you've always known that.
Yeah.
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 So how exciting.
It is. I mean, I think it's an amazing blessing to realize that you get to wake up every day and do what you were truly meant to do. And you're supporting others and you're making a difference in the world. I mean, isn't that what we all want, right? To be able to say, I lived my life on purpose. I loved every moment of doing what I was meant to do. And I made a difference. So, yeah.
Yeah. And what? It doesn't hurt that you also make some money too.
Exactly.
Because we all also need to make money.
Exactly.
In this present reality, money is necessary. So,
it is.
doing what you love and loving what you do and loving who you do it for and making money. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the ideal. I don't want to call it a job, right? That's the ideal way of being of purpose in life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that you get to do that is really thrilling. And it's such an example for other people of what's possible when they really trust that inner voice that's telling them this is the direction to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a gift when you develop that relationship with that inner voice, you know, and call it the creative genius within, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't question anything anymore. You just do it. You just listen, right? And because you know that it's going to lead to something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You may not see that end result at the moment, but it's like you feel it, right? Because you know that you're always guided. You know that you're always being looked after. I don't stress as much over money as I used to, you know, because I know I've always been taken care of, and I feel very blessed, right, for that. And so I just go about each day doing my part, you know, taking the inspired action, right? Baby steps, I say, every day, baby steps, one step forward, right? And then you see the end result, and it's like, wow. But you feel proud because you know you did the work, right?
Right. It's not like somebody just gave you money. You actually,
Exactly.
you put in your effort. You did your part.
Right.
You know, people want a handout, and you know what someone taught me years ago is the universe meets you at the point of action.
Yeah.
So that a lot of people just sit back and say, "Okay, universe, give it to me." Well, you know, action is the second half of the word attraction. So
you need to do your part. Exactly.
You kind of got to do your part.
Yeah.
And that what I love is that you just trust. And I've been using that too. This is what I'm being guided to do, and I trust.
Absolutely.
That everything I need to come to fruition will show up. So so the things get placed in our path, and it's still up to us to do with what's placed in our path.
Absolutely. You know, I think during the time that I was homeless, one of my favorite phrases was unwavering faith, right? People ask me, how did I get through that time? And I said, unwavering faith, right? It's like every day I had no idea where I would sleep that night, no idea, you know, where I would be. You can't plan anything, right? Because you don't know. But there was that faith that got me through it and said, you know, we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay, one day at a time, right?
Right. And what's really amazing is how people offered up places for you to stay so you didn't have to sleep on the street.
Yeah. What a gift. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I experienced some of that too. And I know what that's like to just, I mean, fortunately, I had a car that I slept in, but to not really know, to not know where your next meal is coming from, not know where your next paycheck's going to come from, not know where you're spending the night, what, in my case, what parking lot I'd be parked in. And I slept on a lot of couches and, but like you, when I look back at my life, when I start getting a little anxious about what's happening, I just get reminded that I've always been taken care of.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that because I had gone through that stage in my life in 11 to 13, that it prepared me for 2020. 20 and 21 were two of the best years of my life. I know I'm the small percentage that can say that, but I think it's because I had experienced so much loss and so much heartache that you know, when you go through something like that, your mentality, your perception of life shifts, right? I mean, for so long after that, the only thing that mattered was where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? Am I safe? That's it, right? Everything else is a luxury. So when it came to 2020, it was interesting because the first part of the year, January and February, were like two of the greatest years of my life. My film started winning awards. We had the LA premiere. We got the invitation to Cannes. I was like flying as high as you could possibly fly. And then everything stopped, right? And I thought, well, I can crawl under a rock and wait till this is over, or I can keep doing my part and taking inspired action every day. And when we get to the other side of this, I'll be in decent shape. And that's what I did. And I never stopped working, right? It was like every day I was doing something to move myself forward. And it was incredible just to see the things that happened. I found my dream home in the midst of the pandemic, right? And it was just like all of these things. But because I had this mentality of whatever's happening, I'm going to be okay. I'm always taken care of. I just need to do my part. Right.
Right. Yeah. And look where you are now. About to make another, because you've already made it, about to distribute and make known to the world another award-winning film. And I can sense already that it's going to be an award-winning film.
Yeah. This one. So it's like exciting nervousness all wrapped into one, going, wow, where's this thing going to go?
And how it just came together.
Yeah.
Here we go. It came together as though it was meant to be, because it was.
Well, alignment, you mentioned it earlier, right? It's when we're in alignment truly with our purpose, things flow, right? You don't have to put in so much effort. It's a matter of doing your part, but also realizing that you're being supported along the way.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I call that? I call that doing heart work instead of hard work.
Absolutely.
So we've had this misperception that being successful, even the word successful, what does that even mean? But that being successful requires hard work. And I think when we take that out of the narrative and instead turn it to hard work, then we start to understand that when we put our heart into our work, that it does flow like that.
Yeah.
That all of the pieces of the puzzle just start to show up when you're on purpose and you're on path and you're putting your heart into it. And I think this is a big part of this is flipping the entire script about how we as humanity move forward.
Yeah, and I also think what's really important too is to realize that everyone is on their own individual path, right?
Right.
And we all have gifts and talents and things that make us truly unique and allow us to share what we're supposed to be sharing with the world. But what I've also realized is that if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it, right? It's like, It might work for someone else. It might be like the in thing to do, right? But if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. And I've learned to say no to a lot of things that just don't feel in alignment with what my purpose is and what I'm supposed to be doing. And it took a while to get to that point. I mean, I was always a yes. I'll just jump on anything, and then nothing gets done, right? Because they weren't in alignment with what I was supposed to be doing. And once I started making clear boundaries around that, and said, okay, I'm just going to work on what really feeds my soul or what really lights up my heart, that's when things then began to say, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And so for those listening, that's so important, because, if you don't wake up in the morning just eager to do what it is you're doing, question that, right? Mm-hmm. Ask yourself, right? We're hearing now the Great Resignation, right? Which is this huge thing of people going, wait a second, right? Does this really work for me? That's huge.
Yeah, it's what's interesting is that's one of the many gifts of COVID, as I call it, is that a lot of people discovered, I actually can work from home. I'm much happier working from home. I really don't want to go back to that job that I don't like. Why would I spend my life doing something I don't even like doing? So a whole bunch of people are just sitting there saying, no, I'm going to figure out what it is I really love to do and do that instead. Yep. And it's such a powerful movement on the planet right now to get people following their heart instead of following the shoulds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like I've been saying for years, don't should on yourself and don't should on anybody else, and don't let anybody should on you. And so I think a lot of people are starting to understand, this isn't working. The old model isn't working.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've known for a long time the old model isn't working. So now what do we want the new model to look like? And we all get to create it. Right. And it sounds like that's a part of
exactly.
What
and that's what this film
your
is all
movie
about,
talking
right?
about that. Yeah. That's the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's like, what if we each took our own gifts and talents and did our part to make this world a better place, right? It's like, we don't have to fix it all, but we can look at one thing that really, hits us in a way that, hits our hearts or speaks to us, and we can do our part to support that cause, right? Or that effort. And that's the thing.
Right.
It's about really individually doing our part and coming together and creating a world that works for all.
Right. And I think, you know what, Kelly, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, because they look at how all the systems need to be remade. The whole thing's going to start falling apart. All these systems that need to be reconstructed. And I think sometimes people go into overwhelm because there's so much that needs to be done.
Exactly.
And I keep giving people that same piece of advice. Pick the one thing that really inspires your heart. Pick that one thing and focus on that, instead of looking at the whole entire picture and being in absolute overwhelm. Pick the one thing. Pick the, remodeling education, remodeling your local governance, remodeling the medical system, whatever it is, but or the homelessness issue, or the clean water issue, whatever it is, but pick the one thing that you feel tugging at your heart and work on that.
Yeah. And to that respect, especially when it comes to homelessness, I've often shared the story where when I was shooting Invisible, I went to steering committee meetings. I went to all of these different things. I went to dialogue meetings on homelessness. And I remember this one gentleman said, he goes, I don't know where to start. I'm so overwhelmed. It's so big. I don't know where to start. And this other gentleman said, well, he went to an event that was at a library in Santa Monica. And it was like this whole panel of people from the city that were supporting, the homeless community. And this one homeless man stood up and he said, I think it was like in December, early January. And he says, he goes, it's really cold outside. He goes, it's going to be really cold tonight. He goes, where can I get a blanket? Right. It was like they were looking at all these huge issues and this guy just needed a blanket. Right. So this other gentleman said, I've got one in the car. Right. So he went and he got it. He gave this guy a blanket. And he says he went home and he told his wife what had happened. And they went out to the store and they filled their trunk with blankets because they knew that was what they could do. And so they helped one person that day by making this simple gesture. Right. And I'm like, that's how you do it, right? It's so overwhelming that you don't have to do it all. But if you can help one, begin with helping one, you're making a difference, right? And then that becomes this domino effect, right? But it's really starting with that simplicity of doing your part to help one person and then going from there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right, but because people do get so overwhelmed with, especially when you get into the bureaucracy, like that the city is trying to figure out how to solve the issue. How about you actually talk to the people that are experiencing the issue?
Exactly.
Find out from them what they need. And what a lot of people don't understand, what I discovered when you and I were working together on Pearl, I had no idea what homelessness really was, because like so many other people, I had the perception that it was all alcoholics and drug addicts. And I come to discover, oh my gosh, there's families. There's just people who have lost their job and lost their apartment and don't have 2 months worth of income to be able to get the next apartment. And so now their whole family's living in a tent.
Exactly. Right. And that's basically how Invisible came to be. I had been going to all these meetings around Santa Monica, and I went to one where it was packed house, and there were all these people on every steering committee that the city had, and there was one who was in charge of some big committee sitting in front of me, and I asked him, I said, I would like to speak on this other demographic. It's not just the drug addicts, the mentally ill, or the criminals. There's this other demographic of professional people who are educated, who have never taken a drug, never smoked, never drank, never did anything wrong, and yet they're finding themselves, on the streets to no fault of their own. And so in my case, it was the fact that I had multiple degrees, this multiple, education, and was also all of a sudden deemed overqualified. So I couldn't find work. And I said, I want to speak to that. And he literally completely ignored me. And I remember leaving that event, sitting on a bus stop, waiting to go home in tears, because I said, I'm not being heard. I'm not being, I feel like I'm invisible. And that's literally how the film came to be. Because I was like, there is this entire demographic of intelligent professionals who are being completely ignored because they don't look the part.
Right.
And I said, something is wrong here.
Yeah. One of the things I've discovered a couple of years ago is the number of people who are homeless who are educated professional women over 50. It's huge number of women over 50. And it is because, once a woman turns 50, she's less likely to be employable. They're overeducated in your case, or they have a husband who they got divorced and then they don't have that second income anymore, or their husband dies and they don't have that income. But the number of women who this has been kind of one of my things. I'm like, that I want to start these houses to house women over 50 who are still perfectly capable of contributing to society.
Yeah.
They're educated, they're successful, they're brilliant, and they've been set aside because they're too old.
Yeah. And that's why we started the nonprofit, because I said, I want to create something for creative women in transition who are educated, who have something to offer, who just are looking for that opportunity. And so we just launched last weekend, our Entrepreneurship Academy, where we support these women in teaching them how to take their gifts and talents and start their own business, right? I said, if no one's going to hire us, we'll start our own business and we'll go that route, right? Because to this day, I'm unemployable. I have applied for hundreds and hundreds of jobs, nothing. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not even going to bother anymore, because it's clear I'm not supposed to have a job, right? So
no one would hire me.
Right? I'm just going to support others in how to start a business, because, but yeah, you're so right. I mean, that's the thing, and it's just like, okay, well, if something's not working, then we need to take another route.
Yeah. And the other thing I found interesting, and we are, we're nearing the end of our time here, but the other thing I found really interesting when we were working on Pearl was how homelessness causes the mental illness, not the other way around. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They assume that you're homeless because you're mentally ill, but being homeless is what causes the mental illness, which I found really interesting. So if we can help people before the mental illness sets in and get them back into a job or back into the marketplace or starting their own business or something that actually prevents that mental illness to even start to set in.
Absolutely. So then we're treating, and especially after everything we've been through. Yeah, the last 2 years.
Yeah. And we treat the cause rather than throwing Band-Aids at the symptoms.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a really important message to get out there. So I'm so glad that you're heading that up and doing such important work and this new movie. I'm really excited for when it's finished and when we can start promoting it. And also, again, for all of you watching, go help fund this important project, because this is really, really important to get out there. And it's not being funded it's not being green lighted through the film industry, if you will. It's being funded by all of us as independents who are out there really want to make a difference in the world. And this is how it gets done, is by all of us, even if it's $5, $10, $15, $20 or $100 or $1,000 for production credits. That's how we do it. It's everybody pitches in so that the work gets done.
It definitely does take a village.
Yes. And I think we're starting to see that now more than ever. And one of the things that I know you've been around the spiritual community for years, and the old saying, we're the ones we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
We've been saying that for years, and we've known that we're the ones we've been waiting for, and we've been putting our heart into our work and really trying to make a difference. And what I started seeing a couple of months ago is that people are finally starting to grasp, that they would really start to grasp what that means. Oh, we're the ones we've been waiting for. Got it. People are finally starting to understand that it isn't anybody else. They're really starting to grasp that we're the ones we've been waiting for. If it is to be, it is up to me. It's up to we. And they're really, really starting to get that. It doesn't require anybody with huge amounts of money to be the one who does it. It's about each one of us helping each other out and pitching in a little bit. And when enough of us do, we can change the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing that also really shifted my life was the concept of co-creation, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have to feel like we're alone in all this. It's like we're guided every step of the way, right? And if we can unite everyone to come together that way, imagine what we could create. Right?
I know. Everything becomes possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we start to really understand that no one is our competition, we're all here to co-create with each other and to intercreate. As I call it, intercreating. We're intercreating this entirely new world, and we're co-creating with source. And when we understand that the separation is illusion, division is an illusion, competition is an illusion, that was all created in this old reality to prevent us from remembering who we really are and what we're really capable of. And what we're all really starting to grasp is, so when we come together in co-creation, we can make everything possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this to me, this film was a perfect example of that, because it's, again, you said it takes a village, but it's tidbits all over the world and all of these different people working together for one mutual purpose. And one of the things we'll start seeing more of moving forward, and it really started to hit in 2020, is cooperation. So it's beyond collaboration, it's cooperation. And we're all working together to create these cooperative concepts where the creators win, everybody who works on it wins, the audience wins, the planet wins. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win for everybody. And and the whole win-lose old paradigm is going to cease to exist from our reality, because it's a false narrative. Mm-hmm. And well, thank you so much, Cali, for being here. It's been so great to reconnect with you and to hear what you've been up to, and of course, get into these conversations that I always get into with my guests, because these kinds of conversations are how we change the world. And it's how we make a difference in the world. And it's how we create an entirely new reality through having these conversations and spreading love across the airwaves and possibilities out across the airwaves. And I am, as I often say, I am so grateful to be able to be of service to humanity in this way, by having this show and being able to share with other people what's possible. And I'm always grateful. Every time I bring a guest on, I'm always grateful that I get to be able to share this forward with everybody else, because that's what we do. We share it forward, and that's how we change the world. Right? Oh, and on that note, for all of you who are watching, please remember to comment, like, subscribe, and share, because that's how we change the world, by sharing these messages forward. Thank you, Cali, for being here. For all of you who are watching, thank you for being here and being your light. As I always say, remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together, we are creating a world of peace, harmony, freedom, and prosperity for all life on Earth. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free. I gotta find my outro.